In this lecture, we will cover the nutritional needs for young athletes and athletes in general. Additionally, we will focus on the components of an athlete's diet, the importance of hydration, and what a proper recovery regimen looks like. First, have you ever considered the nutritional differences between young athletes and non-athletes? Really, there is very little difference, as proper nutrition is important for all kids. The only differences include calorie intake, hydration needs, and fuel timing. Calories out is another way of describing how we burn calories. Calories are burned in 4 different ways: metabolism, which are all the chemical processes in the body; digestion, your basic daily movement; and physical activity. When the amount of calories in is greater than calories out, over time we see weight gain. The reverse is true when more calories are burned versus those that are taken in. When looking at a food label, you can see the breakdown of macronutrients. This is a label of a bagel. Here you can see that this bagel is 260 calories. These calories are consumed of 53 grams of carbs, 9 grams of protein, and 1 gram of fat. Can you do the math to see where the calories come from? This is a chart of the estimated caloric needs of children by age and activity level. You can see that males and females between ages 9 to 13 who are active have similar caloric needs. Therefore, a coach or a parent doesn't need to differentiate caloric needs between sexes. But as children reach high school, caloric needs do tend to increase in males. Also, in our fast food society, be mindful of the calorie counts in some common food choices. For example, a Happy Meal with healthy choices includes a cheeseburger, yogurt, and milk, but that's 590 calories, which is half of an active child's daily caloric intake. For this reason, try to advise parents to stay away from fast food restaurants. In this slide, you can see that there are ranges of macronutrients. For example, carbohydrates are between 45 to 65%. Proteins are between 10 to 30%, and fat should be between 25 and 35% of your average daily needs. This is because your macronutrient needs change based on your performance needs. On this slide, you'll see that there are 3 different types of performance needs: easy, moderate, and hard. For easy, an easy day may contain just an easy workout or tapering without the need to load up for competition with energy and nutrients. Easy day meals may also apply to athletes trying to lose weight and athletes in sports requiring less energy due to the nature of their sport. A moderate day may be one where you train twice but focus on technical skill in one workout and on endurance in the other. The moderate day should be your baseline from where you adjust your plate down or up. A hard day contains at least 2 workouts that are relatively hard or competition. If your competition requires extra fuel from carbohydrates, use this plate to load up in the days before, throughout, and after the event. You'll notice that on easy days, the energy requirements are lower. Therefore, fats, which are the most energy dense, are smaller than on days requiring more energy expenditure. Also, you'll notice on easy training days or those in a weight management state would want to consume 50% of their calories on fruits and vegetables, which are generally lower in calories than whole grains and meats. Carbohydrates have been getting a bad rap over the years. Cutting back carbs is a popular diet strategy for those that want to lose weight, but not a great strategy for athletes. The truth about carbs is that they are a major source of energy, particularly during high-intensity exercise. They are the exclusive energy source for our nervous system, and carbs are synthesized and stored into muscle glycogen and liver glycogen. Glycogen is stored glucose, which is key for activity that is short and powerful. Foods high in carbohydrates are breads, grains, starchy vegetables, fruits, legumes, cereal, rice, beans, and of course, sugar. This slide shows the relationship between pre-exercise or stored muscle glycogen content and exercise time to exhaustion. For those who are on a low carbohydrate diet, less than 15% of your diet from carbohydrate, this graph shows that you will have very little stored muscle glycogen. Therefore, your time to complete exhaustion would be around 60 minutes or less. For those on a high carbohydrate diet, 60 to 70% of calories from carbohydrates, stored muscle glycogen is significantly higher, around 3 times higher than a low carbohydrate diet, and the time to exhaustion is around 180 minutes. So athletes need to have a different mentality with their caloric and macronutrient intake than those non-athletes that are just trying to lose weight. These pie charts show the macronutrient requirements during different intensity levels of training. Notice the profound difference between mild intensity endurance training and high intensity training. Since carbohydrates are converted into energy faster than fats or proteins, you can see that during high-intensity training in long or short durations, carbohydrates are the primary fuel source. Another point to make is that protein is not easily converted into energy because that is not its main purpose. Energy is most easily created from carbohydrates and fats. Proteins consist of amino acids, which are the building blocks of muscle. The amount of protein necessary for the average person is 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. So if you weigh 70 kilograms, multiply 0.8, which equals 56 grams of protein per day. Keep in mind that a 4-ounce chicken breast has about 25 grams of protein, so achieving 56 grams per day is not that difficult. Consider the protein needs of the strength athlete, which is 1.6 to 1.7 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. So a 70 kilogram athlete should consume about 119 grams of protein per day. Protein needs for children are similar to those of the average adult at 0.8 grams per kilogram. This chart shows that children, both boys and girls under age 14, have the same protein requirements. As kids enter into high school, their protein needs go up, most likely because we get heavier. This is a list of foods that have 10 grams of protein. Give this one a look. You can see that just 1 cup of some breakfast cereal may have 10 grams of protein, or 3 cups of rice could have 10 grams of protein, which is interesting because rice is typically listed as a carbohydrate. Also, you can have 2 cups of spinach or 4 slices of bread. So there are ways that we can achieve our required protein intake through some foods that might be listed as carbohydrate or fat. As stated earlier, fats are extremely energy dense at 9 calories per gram. Foods that are good sources of fat, like olive oil, avocados, nuts, flax seeds, peanut butter or almond butter, coconut, and chia seeds. Fats are very high in calories. This slide shows how many calories are in typical servings of foods high in fat. For example, a cup of walnuts have 525 calories, which are 52 grams of fat, 11 grams of carbohydrate, and 12 grams of protein. A typical serving of peanut butter, which is about 2 tablespoons, contains 190 calories, broken down to 16 grams of fat, 8 grams of carbohydrate, and 7 grams of protein. The point is to understand that although fats are an important macronutrient, they are extremely high in calories, so you must understand your energy and performance needs. What foods should we consume before exercise? Ideally, our food choices should ensure a normal blood glucose concentration and prevent us from being hungry. The amount of calories that one should consume 1 to 2 hours before exercise ranges between 200 to 500 calories of carbohydrates that are easily digestible, which also means to limit fat and fiber because these food types are harder on the stomach. See the next slide for great pre-exercise snacks. How might you advise the athlete and his parents in this particular scenario? Sam is 10 years old. He is competing on a club baseball team. They generally play back-to-back games on Saturdays and practice 2 times per week. They compete primarily in the summer months. His parents are requesting a meeting to talk about better nutrition for their child since he has been complaining about being really sluggish by the second game. What questions would you ask the parents? What kind of nutritional advice would you think to give the athletes and parents? Think about asking, what time does Sam eat breakfast? What does Sam eat for breakfast? How much water is Sam drinking before, during, and after exercise? Other nutritional considerations are our intake of vitamins and minerals. Vitamins and minerals are always important for elite athletes, but even more so during higher volume and intensity training times of the year. Vitamins do not provide energy, but they do help to release energy. For example, vitamin B2 or riboflavin aids in energy metabolism. Foods high in B2 are dairy, dark green leafy vegetables, whole grain cereals, and enriched grains. Vitamin supplementation is not always necessary if a well-balanced diet is maintained. Foods that are rich in vitamins and minerals also contain antioxidants, which are important for elite athletes. Antioxidant-rich foods such as fruits and vegetables will keep the immune system in top shape for performance. Like vitamins, minerals also assist in many body processes and are crucial in muscle contractions, energy expenditure, and immune function. Minerals are divided into 2 categories, macrominerals and microminerals. Macrominerals required in amounts greater than 100 milligrams per day, and microminerals are required in small amounts less than 100 milligrams per day. On the next slide, you'll see the chart of macronutrients and micronutrients. Athletes have an increased need for both macro and microminerals because of the higher stress that is placed on the body during training. We will focus on one macromineral and one micromineral. Calcium is a macromineral that is essential for growth and maintenance of bones and teeth. It is also important for heart and skeletal muscle function, nerve impulse transmission, blood clotting, and release of some hormones. Key food sources of calcium include dairy products, dark green leafy vegetables, and calcium-fortified beverages. In the other chart, we have iron. Iron is a micromineral which aids in oxygen delivery and is essential for aerobic metabolism. It is found in meat, fish, poultry, shellfish, eggs, whole grains, vegetables, and nuts. A common condition that is found in average people and athletes is anemia, which means a low amount of iron in the bloodstream. Signs and symptoms of anemia are fatigue and low amounts of energy, or just feeling tired all the time. How many calories should I take in? This is determined by your basal metabolic rate and your activity level. Basal metabolic rate is how many calories your body burns at rest. This can be estimated based on the Harris-Benedict equation. You can determine your own basal metabolic rate with this equation. You just need to plug in your weight in pounds, height in inches, and years of age. Try to practice this equation with your own data. Now take the number from this equation and multiply the number by the number that coincides with your activity level. and this will determine your daily calorie needs. Health issues. And sometimes we don't end up losing any weight at all. Also, keep in mind that calories should not go below 1,500 calories per day for an adult without doctor care. And children especially should not be concerned with weight loss unless they are under a doctor's care. So we have discussed the 3 macronutrients, vitamins, and minerals, and the final nutrient that we will discuss is water. Water is a crucial component in performance. As little as a 2% drop in our body's fluid level can have a negative impact on performance. And dehydration, heat exhaustion, and heat stroke can all have deadly results. Children are especially susceptible to dehydration because they have less effective thermoregulatory systems. The best way to avoid fluid loss or heat-related illness is to start your exercise already hydrated, then stay hydrated during exercise, and finally, within 30 minutes of post-exercise, it is important to rehydrate and refuel. Rehydrating is best with plain water unless the exercise is done in extremely hot and or humid conditions. In this case, sports drinks should be added, which are comprised of 6 to 8% carbohydrate and assorted electrolytes. Sports drinks are not ideal daily beverages consumed with every meal. They are typically high in sugar, and some dentists attribute the amount of cavities in the teenage population to an overconsumption of sports drinks. It is ideal to drink water every 15 to 20 minutes during exercise. One way to determine if you are hydrated is to examine the color of your urine. This slide shows which urine color indicates hydration, which is the color in the first box, and which determines dehydration, the color in box 8. Recently, I was at a soccer training session with high school athletes, and about 1 hour into the session, I noticed that several of the players looked completely fatigued, and we hadn't really done a lot of intense training. After the session, I asked the players what they had for breakfast. They, of course, said we didn't eat breakfast. They had clear signs of bonking or being depleted of fuel. This manifests in a sharp decline in performance. Athletes feel like they run out of gas. Also, they tend to be irritable, confused, or feel like they have a sludgy brain. The solution is to come to practice properly fed and properly hydrated. Recovery is essential, especially when training at high intensities and or in the heat. A sound recovery nutrition protocol will ensure that you can optimize training adaptation and perform at 100% of your body's potential for the next training bout. Consider the 4 R's of recovery nutrition. First, rehydrate with fluids and electrolytes. Second, replenish muscle glycogen stores with carbohydrates. Third, repair and regenerate muscle tissue with high-quality protein. And 4, reinforce your immune system with nutritious foods. The take-home point for coaches are, first, model good eating habits. Second, provide water and maybe sports drinks at each practice. Third, never suggest that an athlete lose weight. Fourth, emphasize and teach healthy habits. Fifth, strongly discourage restricted eating in young athletes unless they are working with a doctor or certified nutritionist. For more information about nutritional guidelines for athletes, see the USOC nutrition document in the supplemental readings folder in eCampus for this week.